I'm here with Mark Fletcher, who's the chief architect for public safety solutions at Avaya. What's up, Mike?
Mark.
I don't know, I said Mike. I think I've been researching too many people. Hey, Mark.
Mike is doing okay. Mark's doing great too.
So there's so we break down research and stuff. One of the segments we do is breaking down research for professors. And some of the hardest ones to do are the political theorists and neuroscientists when they put out a research article, because every fourth word or so you have to look it up.
Yeah.
So you get so jumbled and frustrated after 4 hours of doing that it's even the most simple things are am I sure I have that right?
If you want to think yourself as really stupid, get yourself a 19-year-old daughter, because she'll tell you that you're pretty stupid in about 5 minutes.
That sounds about right. All right,
I've got one to give you if you're looking in the market for one, because I'm looking to pass mine along. I'm done with her.
No, hard pass. I'm gonna say hard pass. All right, so you're the chief architect for public safety solutions. So what does that entail on a day-to-day basis? And how did you get involved with Avaya?
So I sit on various committees at the Federal Communications Commission. I've sat on committees at DHS, various state, local, and even county different committees when they're legislating 911 or emergency services to make sure that they're passing laws that make sense, laws that are correct technically and feasibly, and they're not coming up with some pie in the sky stuff or legislating things that just don't make sense.
I never really thought of that.
That's the bulk of my job.
What are some of the obstacles you run into? Speaking of legislators, trying to get them to pass the correct legislation. Is there some technical things that they just don't know? What do you have to lobby for?
Legislators are legislators, so they're not technical people. So 911 is one of those topics where a lot of things sound like they make sense, but if you're in the business of providing 911 services, a lot of those things don't make sense. So I'll give you a perfect example. In many of the what we call multi-line telephone systems or PBX systems, in colleges, buildings, universities, businesses, etc., you've got to dial a 9 for an outside line, typically, right?
Yeah.
So there was in 2013, on December 1st, it's coming up just on 4 years, there was a woman down in Marshall, Texas. Her name was Carrie Hunt. She was 31 at the time. She went to a hotel with her 9-year-old daughter and her 2 other children that were, I think, ages 5 and 6, to meet her estranged husband at a Baybon Suites hotel in Marshall, Texas.
Okay.
He pulls her into the bathroom to have a discussion.
All right.
She tells him that she's done. She's leaving him. That's it. He freaks out and starts stabbing her.
Oh, jeez.
Now Carrie starts screaming like crazy, and her 9-year-old daughter, which is, in the room, hears her mom being attacked by her father. Okay. She runs over to the phone, picks it up, and dials 911. And what does she get? She gets a fast, busy signal. Why? Because she didn't dial 911.
No one's gonna think of that at all. There was one study where it showed that people, when they redline, when an emergency does happen, that they're unable to even remember the numbers for 911, let alone remember that, I'm in a specific business where I have to dial 9 first and then 911. He said if you wanted to get some idea of what that feeling's like when your adrenaline is all the way up, is run, I want to say 3 laps around a track at full speed and then try to open your car door. It's impossible.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. So, little Brianna was 9 years old at the time, and everything she had been taught by her mother, her grandparents, her teachers at school, policemen, firemen, every police car, fire truck, ambulance that she ever saw, what did it say on the side? Call 911. Uh-huh. And that's exactly what she did. And she tried 4 times. So Carrie was stabbed 31 times, or about 30 times. Obviously, 911 never was reached. Carrie died that day. And is one of the main pieces of legislation I've been working on for the past 4 years now, is Carrie's Law. And it's passed in several states, and there's actually a federal bill pending that's already through the House and through the Senate with separate bills, and they've got to get the language. The language is just a little bit different on some of the grandfather clauses, so that's got to go to committee to get the language in line so it can be brought together in one bill. But again, that's a bill where people say, wait a second, stop. I don't want to have to do all this crazy stuff. I don't want to have to buy these expensive systems. And it's the lack of knowledge, because it's really just programming in the PBX.
I was going to ask you, like, is it expensive, and what would be the solution for that? Like, is it just as simple as switching a 1 to a 0, and you don't have to dial 9 anymore, and that's fixed?
It pretty much is it. There's just an option that says, when you dial 9, that's an outside call. Okay, that's fine. If I see the digits 911, phone systems are computers today. Mm-hmm. And what do computer systems do? They do exactly what you tell them to do. So when I see the digits 911 and I don't see any other digits, make it a 911 call and send it out. Just about every single PBX that I'm aware of has that capability.
That's brilliant.
So it's awareness, right? That's all it is awareness. Now, there's people that actually profit off of some of these 911 solutions. And the nasty side of this is that the people that profit off of the add-on solutions that are really, really expensive fight this.
Like what? I never heard of that before. Like, who profits from this?
Well, there's if I have a building it gets kind of complex, and most people don't even think about this. That's why it's hard to explain to people. Let's say you're in an office building and you have 1,000 people in that building. I'm going to give you the test.
Okay.
If you call 9, let's say you're sitting in office 2C231 in that building at 123 Main Street. Is it important for the police department to know that you're in office 2C231?
Definitely. Yeah, if there's an emergency in my specific office, I need you to know that this is the office that it's coming from. Yes. That would be important.
Okay, so you just failed the test like everybody else.
Oh no. Sorry, what's the answer?
The answer is, so let me ask you this. You're a 911 dispatcher.
Yeah.
Let's flip the table a little bit. I'm calling you because I'm having a heart attack.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Ask me where I am.
Hey, where are you?
I'm in office 2C231 at 123 Main Street.
Okay.
Where am I?
2C231 on Main Street.
No. Where am I? How do I get there?
Oh,
You might find my building.
Yeah, but I don't know how to get up. I guess the elevator.
To where?
Oh, good question. I don't know.
You get it? You have no idea what 2C231 means.
Oh. Huh. Yeah,
so it's very expensive to report down to the individual station level. And by report, I mean report to the 911 center that information. And it's irrelevant. I have the technology to tell you that I'm wearing blue socks. But what's the relevance of that?
It's not at all. That 2C231 doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't get you to my building any faster.
No.
And when you get here, you don't know what it means, so you don't know where to go. So let's flip it around a little bit.
Okay.
I dial 911. I'm at cube 2C231. In addition to going directly to the police department and saying, building 123 Main Street, people inside my building are notified, hey, Fletch just made a 911 call. He's in Office 2C231. My internal people know where that is. Or I can provide them with a floor plan of where that is.
Both of those are brilliant. So, okay, so I'm the police officer. I run in and everybody's standing up out of their cubicle and pointing to the corner office. Like, makes it pretty easy. That's brilliant.
Now, the next question, people ask me, well, what if it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm here in my office by myself?
Mm-hmm.
Great question. So in my office, I work out of my house, but I do have an office down in Morristown, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
2 floors of a building, glass doors, no receptionists.
Oh, that's interesting.
Locked glass doors. So if you show up at 10 o'clock at night, you can't even get into my building.
Yeah, find you first, and then I can't get in.
And if you do get in, you still don't know where to go.
Huh.
But I can display a floor plan on a monitor that's in the lobby near the fire alarm panel, which everybody knows to go to anyway when they're looking for, fires and things.
Mm-hmm.
I can put a monitor on the wall that says, Fletch just dialed 911. Here's the floor plan. Here's the little dot of where he is. So that you might have to break down my front door, but you don't have to break down every other damn door in the building to where you need to go.
That's brilliant. Okay, so I go to the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and I tried to find a specific office for like financial aid. And it was in a building, but it was like tucked into the middle of the building. And like walking through it, I think we spent like half an hour trying to find the office. Like that would have been nice to have a mini map like sent to us. Like if we were looking for, if there was an emergency, I would imagine that is life and death. Like just having that one piece of technology. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And think about it, right? So next generation 911, today's 911 network was developed in 1968. It's a very analog based technology. It's based on phone numbers. Mm-hmm. Back when phone numbers used to live at the end of a pair of copper wires, and the phone company knew where it all was.
Okay, yeah.
Right, with voice over IP and technology and soft phones and cellular phones, phone numbers are not static anymore. They move all over the place. Yet the system today for 911 equates a phone number with a street address. And that's the way 911 works.
I had no idea. So I think both me and everybody else, we've taken it for granted that, the technology has moved forward. So I'd imagine if I'm in trouble and I dial 911 from a cell phone or from a landline or from an office, that, they'll find me. Like, no problem. I'll dial 911. Hey, I'm in trouble. And then like hang up the phone and they'll be able to trace it and they can get directly to me. So I don't know how this misconception like stuck around and we're still stuck in the 1970s. Is it moving forward? Like, are you guys able to get into these businesses? This seems like the easiest argument in the world. Like, hey, you're living in the 70s still. Like, here's something from today. It seems like an easy fix.
Well, yeah. So a lot of businesses will fix the problems once they're aware of the problem. Cell phones actually bring another problem because even though your cell phone has GPS and even though Google's can find out where you are, and I'm sure you've ordered Domino's pizza, they know right where you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But 911 doesn't have that technology available to them. The 911, the easiest way to explain it is the connection between your cell phone and the cellular network is an intelligent connection. We get the internet over that. There's information that can be passed. So the carrier, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, whoever, that conversation is an intelligent conversation. But beyond that, the conversation between your cellular carrier and the 911 network is just like the analog phone on the wall of your kitchen.
Why is that not that all of that information not passed to 911? It's past the Domino's.
Because your damn kids need to get out and vote.
Oh.
No, I love talking to college kids about this because they just can't fathom what I'm telling them is the truth. Yet it is. So that old, you're still young enough to where you grew up with an analog phone on the wall of your kitchen, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that thing. Yeah, every time you slammed it, it was like it would bang like that giant bell.
So mine was a rotary one. I still remember, but yes. So how do you send a text message to that device?
Oh, you do not. You do not.
You do not.
That. No.
How do I send a picture to that device?
You definitely do not. I mean, you can, but you might as well be throwing it against a brick wall.
That is the same technology. That is the same technology that feeds the 911 operators.
That's unbelievable. We hear arguments all the time about how we need to fix our infrastructure, and it goes all the way down to the roads, the pipes, the bridges. But again, I think I can speak for my whole generation. I don't think that I think we've taken 911 for granted. Whereas like, oh, of course they would like update this system. Like, I can't even imagine it. So it's being sent to what is essentially a rotary phone at the 911 operators.
It's an analog phone, and the way they convey your location, believe it or not, is through touch tone digits, and they send a 10-digit number down, and there's some equipment at the 911 center that grabs that number and then looks it up in a database at the phone company. And if you're at the end of a landline with an address, then that's great. But if you're at the end of a cell phone, they really don't have an address. So they take that phone number and then they go back and they ask the cellular carrier, hey, this phone number just made a 911 call. Where do you see it in your network?
Wow.
And then typically through radio triangulation, they'll say, well, we think the device is about here.
Okay, so that seems both inexact, and then it seems like it's going to take a long time.
Oh, well, it actually doesn't take a long time. They can do it pretty quickly, but it is unbelievably inexact. It could be off by a half mile easily. So cellular location reporting is broken down into 3 phases. Phase 0 is just the phone number and no location data. Phase 1 is the address of the cellular antenna that you've hit. Mm-hmm. And phase 2 is what they call network-based, which is the radio triangulation of multiple towers, which, again, may be accurate, may not be accurate. Now, here's the thing, smart college boy. Radio waves travel at the speed of light.
Okay.
Radio waves, what's the shortest path between 2 points?
Straight line.
Very good. Radio waves bounce. So if a radio wave bounces off of buildings in an urban canyon and does a zigzag path, the length of distance that signal has traveled is actually greater than a straight line.
Okay.
Agreed?
Yeah.
So if I'm measuring the distance from the tower based on the time the signal took to get to me, if it didn't take a straight line, I'm not getting an accurate measurement.
Definitely not.
So take 2 inaccurate measurements and radio triangulate that. You're not going to, that point where they cross is not going to be very accurate.
Not at all. And if you're in some alley in Baltimore, that seems like it could be a problem.
Sure. Wow. So here's another thing. People say, well, I got GPS.
Yeah.
GPS knows exactly where I am.
Yeah. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what you would think.
Uh-huh.
But GPS is what they call a line of sight technology, which means that your phone sees when it has a clear line of sight to the GPS satellite, it's getting that signal. Now, it'll go through trees and things like that, will not go through buildings.
Okay, so I have noticed that when I'm in my building or in any building inside of my school, when I'm trying to use the GPS inside of some buildings, I don't know if they make it out of a certain thing, but the GPS is gone. Like, it's completely gone when you step inside.
There you go.
Huh.
And if you go into a lot of government buildings, there's a lot of radio frequency isolation built into the walls and windows from the old Cold War days when they were worried about people, sniffing through the walls, the radio signals, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of government buildings are actually shielded to where radio waves won't penetrate at all. So GPS is unbelievably inaccurate inside. If your phone even shows you a GPS signal, the signal it's showing you is the last one it had before you walked in the building.
That is a significant problem.
I love turning on young minds. This because you get it pretty easily. Yeah. So here's the thing. When GPS is received by the cellular network, it also has a timestamp. So right now I can tell you that my phone's got GPS, but the timestamp that it has is at least 45 minutes old when I was outside of my house. Okay. And I can tell you that the network will not consider that valid GPS because of the timestamp. This is why people die from not being able to be located with their cell phones.
So how does Avaya fix that? Like you guys got this list of like problems. You can't find the guy. Like he's in the building, but you don't know what part of the building. You said 23C81-P. I don't know what office that is. So I'm gonna try to scramble. It's at nighttime. No one's here to point out that hey, this guy's having a heart attack or being stabbed in his office. Like how does Avaya fix this? Like where are the ones and zeros? Like what do you guys do?
So what we do is there's various ways of locating devices inside and outside of buildings. So we use all of that technology to figure out where a device is. If it's an IP phone, we'll look at the IP address. We'll look at, now some of it's manually configured information, but there are some network discovery protocols that can be applied. We can look at wireless access point fingerprints. We can make a determination of about where a device is. Certainly building and floor and a zone level. And then what we do is we make that information available. So instead of, if I've got a building with 1,000 people in it, instead of having 1,000 different records for every phone number that's in that building, it's irrelevant because none of that, you don't know where any of that is. I'll take one number and make it representative of that building.
Okay.
And that's the number that I'll transmit to 911. That will give them the street level address of the building. Now, what I'll also do is in the database record at the 911 center for that special number that we've put in that database, and it's called an emergency location identification number, or ELIN, 1,000 acronyms.
Yeah.
But for that ELIN in that database record, we will have a field. There's a field in there that's a pretty much a free-form text field, 40 to 60 characters long. What I'll do is I will put in that field a bit.ly web address.
Okay.
Sure. And that bit.ly will resolve back to a single web address on my property. And what I'll do is I will dynamically put the information related to an emergency at that web page. So the police department only has to go to one web address for anybody in this building.
Okay.
And my internal systems will put the information I want the police to have at the end of that web address.
Okay, information like what?
Who I am, where I am, a floor plan. I could put pass-through links to video cameras if I wanted to.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah, right? Now, the cool part about it is, as the next generation 911 network evolves, I'll actually be able to pass those URLs real time with the call and even more detailed information. And that happens through SIP and some SIP headers. But, again, even in today's legacy 1968 network, I can still fix the problem.
Seems pretty straightforward. I can't imagine if I have a small or mid-sized business. I can't imagine not having this. It seems irresponsible. Like anything could happen, and it's like a toss up whether or not they could be found. So just one more question, and then I'll let you go. So I didn't know that a business phone system could be attacked. I had no idea. But you wrote an article detailing how people could take down the system via a DDoS attack.
Yep.
So what is that, and should I be worried?
Well, so specifically, anything that's a computer or Ethernet attached can be taken down with a DDoS attack. There's a specific attack against telephone systems called TDOS, or telephony denial of service, and that can actually take down it's taken down 911 centers, and it can take down any phone system. If you've got 10 phone lines coming in, and I go through an internet provider and I just generate bulk phone calls into your system, I basically just clog you up.
Okay, so like when there's when there's an emergency at like a stadium and everyone tries to make a phone call and nobody could get through anymore.
Right. So there was a phone system that kind of went rogue down in San Antonio, Texas, and it started dialing 911 by itself, but it was doing it once every 6 seconds. The average 911 center only has about 6 to 10 people there, believe it or not. There's a lot of them, and they're very small. But what happened was that blast of phone calls tied up the entire San Antonio Police Department for hours until they could find that phone system and pretty much rip it off the wall, because it was just dialing 911 like crazy. And that was a TDOS attack. Whoa. There was another thing where a guy wrote an app that caused your smartphone to redial 911 over and over and over and over again. And when that link got put out on the internet and people started clicking it, that was TDOSing PSAPs all over the country, just by creating this massive influx of phone calls. So it's the telephone network is very, very fragile. The 911 network, unfortunately, is extremely fragile. And, things like next generation 911 will allow us to throttle, detect, and eliminate a lot of these threats as we move forward. There's a lot of reasons why we need to move forward.
That's what this sounds like. It sounds like it sounds like the invention of the cell phone. It sounds like Avaya has a bona fide solution to a problem that we didn't even think was a problem. It seemed like we just accepted that 911 has our back. They'll update with the times. And they didn't, at all. So we're much more vulnerable than we thought. I mean, with the hurricanes happening and the terrorist attacks happening, if there were an emergency, it could literally shut down the one service to bring the good guys to your doorstep. I just never even thought of it. And then down to not being able to find you. That's what you see in every movie where it's you just hang up the phone and then they come and find you.
Yeah. No, it's the movies are probably the biggest enemy, Anthony. They've shown us all this wild stuff. I crack up when I see the movies like, we got to keep them on the line for 30 seconds so we can locate them. I'm like, yeah, I wish we could locate them in 30 seconds. Yeah. That's a bunch of bogus, man. That is totally bogus. But what are you going to do? It's what it is. It is what it is. And, public safety has been very, very, I don't know what the word is. They've had a system that worked for a long time. It was reliable. So they didn't want to update and disrupt that. But what happened was they missed this big change into social media. So you look down in Houston and Florida, when the phone networks went down, people went to Facebook. People went to Twitter. People posted on LinkedIn, I'm going to the roof with my family. Help, I'm caught in a flood. Wow. And they couldn't get help. So it's got to change.
It definitely has to change. I think I'm convinced. So if you're a business, you're a large business, a small business, a government, you're a government official. How do they find you? How do they get to Avaya and say, listen, we've got to fix our system? Because I tried to dial 911 and it told me that it was busy. It told me that it's broken. Sorry, you have to dial 948 first to dial out. How do people get to Avaya to fix this thing?
So to find me, I'm pretty easy to find on the web. You can just Google E911 and Fletcher, Fletcher, and you'll find my blogs, my podcasts. I'm the troublemaker that's out there. I'm the Ralph Nader, of the 911 industry, just stirring it up. Avaya.com/Fletcher are my official Avaya blogs. But again, there's a ton of information out there. We've got a lot of great solutions. We've made it fast, easy, and affordable to fix these problems. They're problems that shouldn't be there. There's a lot we can do, and we're willing to talk to anybody. If I just get people to listen, like yourself, then you become, my mouthpiece that goes forward and says, hey, you need to think about this. And if you think about it, it's easy to fix. And when it's easy to fix, the problem ultimately will go away.
It sounds like it, man. It sounds like Avaya definitely has a solution to this problem. So, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to shoot an email to my school and see if they have a solution to these problems. This is unbelievable.
Have you been talking to Fletcher?
Yeah.
He's stirring up stuff with you.
All right, Mark. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Again, this is PolyPsych Podcast. Go to polypsych.org where you can sign up and become a member of the Academic Social Network, where we break down research for the layman and highlight businesses that are awesome. Again, thanks, Mark, for showing up, man. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. Rock on.
Cheers.